fact, let's go over to the Houston Astrodome right now. My colleague, Steve Evans.
Paul, what would you get if you took a 1,700 horsepower supercharged engine out of a drag racing top alcohol dragster, about, what, 24 feet in wheelbase, and put it in an 8-foot-long chassis? Well, you'd get a nasty little critter like this one, what the pulling sport calls a mini rod. And today we bring you this competition for the very first time. And actually, this engine is bigger than drag racing even allows. This is 572 cubic inches of blown areas. Now, typical dragster design here is the bell housing with a multi-disc clutch inside, a Lenco 2-speed like many of the drag racing cars use. The steering wheel is similar, the roll cage and seat is similar. And back in the drivetrain department, again, you'll find this kind of differential at drag strips all over the world, the Dana 60 with a magnesium center section. So to apply the word rod to this machine is very appropriate. Now for the third category of competition, let's go to the newest member of the Diamond P Sports broadcasting team. Meet Pat Patterson.
Well, thanks very much, Steve. The third category of vehicles and the first pullers tonight in the Astrodome will be the four-wheel drive machines. Now, this is Russ DeForrest's Outlaw out of West Palm Beach, Florida, and some machine it is. These are fuel-injected machines, and they make about 1,000 horsepower, average about 1,000 horsepower amongst all of these trucks. The real secret, Steve, is the weighting on the front end of these machines. These machines, you don't want to see the wheels come up when they take off. You want to make sure that that weight displacement keeps those front wheels on the ground, because with four wheels turning, the more wheels turning and the more power on the ground, the faster they can get the sled down the straightaway that they've got to run. They're exciting machines, and this is one of the most competitive classes, so you're really going to see a good show. It's a pleasure to be with Diamond P, and things are getting started. Let's go back to Paul Page.
Well, we're set for the action. There's Ron Hickson. He's going to be a key factor in most of the evening because he keeps track of this machine. That's the decision maker. He determines the weight, how fast it's going to move, and he'll be making the determination for this man. Our first puller, that's Manuel Moreno, the Yellow Rose of Texas.
We saw Manuel win here in the Astrodome a year ago. He is already underway. Again, 6,200-pound 4x4 vehicles. Manuel with an engine well over 600 cubic inches. A beautifully designed truck, and what would appear to be a fairly good pull. Of course, we won't know until we see the competition behind him.
Well, Steve, they set the full pull distance at 300 feet. Moreno pulls 277.46, but right down the middle. Looks like he had good control. He might be able to dig in a little more.
Now, this is the S10 version of the Chevrolet pickup with the big block engine. Chevrolet called it a big block at 454. If these guys can't get it to 600 inches, it's just a tiny little motor, Paul.
Yeah, and you saw them hook up a very key instrument there. That's the safety shutdown. If for any reason that would unhook, it will also shut the vehicle down immediately, so it's very safe.
Now, it looks as if Michael might have the weight bias towards the rear a little bit. The front tire's not getting the kind of traction they need, and he digs a hole as the weight transfers 266.07 feet, and that will put him into second place right now. You can see the exhaust header sticking up there and the giant air cleaner on the top of the carburetors. There are no superchargers allowed in this category.
Well, two on board, only one of them human, and that's Robert Smith. Bob Smith in the Three Bears, and you, I guess, understand why.
Well, Paul, in the cockpit are just two bears, so the other one must be under the hood, huh?
Must be the vehicle itself. Sometimes I'm not sure why they name any of these things the way they do. All right, he's back, he's hooked, he's ready to go. The revs come up. Looks like he came off a little slow. He might have been afraid of digging in. He's got a nice pull going, though. Nice even traction on all four wheels and then four-wheel flat.
But again, neither he nor Johnson appeared to have the initial kind of wheel speed that Manuel Moreno enjoyed. And indeed, he comes up a foot short even of Johnson at 265.52 feet, and that will put him in that third position. And here is our fourth puller in the four-wheel drive truck class, Robert Gollahan, Manassas Red, it's called, and for a real good reason, from Manassas, Virginia.
And a bright red truck. It really reflects the light here in the Astrodome. 277.46 feet. That's the distance to beat. Up on the decision maker, he'd make sure it's all hooked up right and that the weight is set right. And from his perch high up on the back, that's the responsibility of Ron Hickson.
All right, Robert Gollahan is ready to take his try. Remember, there's no practice in this sport. Robert has to hope that he's selected the right gear in which to pull this sled. He has a choice of a few of these special transmissions. The weight box slams forward and drags Robert to a halt, but not before he takes the #1 spot.
Boy, that was a nice little run. 283.7 feet. He really came out with just enough traction. And like everyone else, I'm impressed. They've all been pulling right down the middle. Good, clean runs.
Oh, absolutely. And the toe in on the vehicle, well, take a look. See how the tires are towed in? Now, that may be to help throw that dirt off to the side so that it doesn't pile up in front of the rear wheels and just give them extra duty.
That also helps the thing steer straight. Anytime you get some toe in there, it does help the steering on the machine, and the four-wheel drive steering can be critical. You can see he gets just enough wheel spin. He looks like he's got pretty good balance. The thing is rocking nice and even. That means that the weight is transferring properly. He seems like he should be satisfied with that run. Manassas Red takes the lead.
Well, Robert, that's how you wanted to start.
Yeah, it's a pretty good start there. I don't know how it's going to hold up. I might have had the wrong gear, but it's put me in the lead right now, but there's a lot of good trucks.
Anything you think you can do to make it any better?
Maybe come up one gear, but we'll have to wait and see.
Good run.
Thank you.
Well, Bob with the distance to beat now at 283.7 feet.
And he won't have to worry tonight, Paul, about making that gear change decision because he's either going to win or lose. The only time you'd get a second shot would be if more than one competitor did a full pull and then there was a pull-off. So that's a mute question at this point for him.
Well, here's a brand new truck we've never seen before, brought by Charlie Lowe. He calls it the Killer 2.
And this is a Ford vehicle, and to a lot of fans in the stands, that's important if they own a Ford truck. You hear a lot of cheering for the various makes of 4x4 vehicles. And here comes that box Ford. That's what drags you to a halt. You can see the injection was just wide open. And the pull is a nice one, but not good enough. 273.12 feet, and that will slot Charlie in third place behind Robert Gollahan and Manuel Moreno. And still on top of that incredible pull of over 283 feet, Robert Gollahan.
Well, Charlie's still learning a little bit about this new Ford truck of his. It's brand new, and I think he's going to have to go back and think about it a little bit. He came up 20 feet short. Now they pour some extra fuel into the front of the injectors, and take a look up in the cockpit here. Out of Oklahoma, that's Donna Webb. The vehicle is Sudden Impact.
And Donna is an experienced puller, and that's what it takes is experience, not strength, not anything other than just having done it time after time after time. All right, let's go to Pat with Charlie Lowe at the finish line.
Well, Charlie, you got a brand new truck for 1990, and you got to be happy with that pull.
It's bouncing a little bit.
What are you going to do to get it in shape?
I worked on it today. I'll have to work on it a little more.
All right.
Springs, I think.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Well, that's part of the problem with any new vehicle. You have to learn its personality. Charlie will obviously work with it, and he'll probably come back and take a look at some videotape as well to see exactly what the vehicle was doing.
You know, pulling this far down in order can be good and bad. It can be good for Donna in that she's had a chance to watch other drivers and see how their techniques work on this racetrack. It can be bad in that the track can be so torn up there's no traction. But tonight, this track is holding up beautifully. Donna is hooked, and has got a good one going.
You got a little wheel spin going there, and that pulled her off the course. And of course, anytime you drift one way or other, that's footage that you could have been using in the straight line. She only comes up at 276.44 feet.
But that's good for third place and a pretty good payday here in the Astrodome.
Take a look at Donna's run one more time. Now you see that she gets a lot of wheel spin right away, and as Steve pointed out, the track is holding up particularly well.
That's what hurt her, Paul. She got just a little bit sideways and maybe wasn't using the steering wheel quite as well as she could have. You don't think of one of these 4x4s as getting sideways, but when they do, you've got to react very quickly to try to keep it in a straight line.
Well, here's a familiar vehicle. It's Stitches. That's Jim Lyons on board. Now he's setting his sights on that 283.7 feet pull that he will need if he wants to move up into the top position. He applies the power, pulls away a little bit slow. Now he picks up some speed.
Just a beautiful truck out of Louisville, Kentucky, and this looks good.
Nice run going. Nice run. But he comes up just a little bit short. Jim Lyons, Stitches at 277.31 feet. Not far enough.
That puts Jim in the third spot and bumps Donna Webb down into fourth. Well, Paul, you seldom see a man as dominant in this class as Robert Gollahan has been so far. Football baseball, rodeo, bingo. They do it all in the Houston Astrodome, but only once a year does it fill with horsepower. The TNT All-American. I'm Steve Evans along with Paul Page and Pat Patterson, and we go back to the 4x4 6,200-pound truck class. Robert GOLLAHON, that incredible pull of 283 feet. Manuel Moreno, the defending champ of the Dome, still in that second position.
GOLLAHON with 6 feet ahead of the second place pull. Had an incredible pull going, and as you mentioned earlier, Steve, people like Randy McConnell from Alabama, who comes up now, have to fight not only the problems they may have with their own machinery, but also with a course that may by now be dug out a bit.
Well, all of the pullers have favored the left side of the course. I wonder what would happen if somebody went right. Randy McConnell, the yellow fever, he is going to be disappointed with this one.
Yeah, I'm afraid he is, Steve. He came up way short of the line. There's the measurement, 266.65 feet. That's not even in the top 5. Glenn Davis is the driver out of Miramar, Florida. He's looking to beat that 283.7-foot pull.
When you name a truck, you better be ready to live up to the name, and that baby does sparkle. Oh, Paul, he got terrific momentum early on in this pull. Glenn Davis has got one going. Glenn Davis, yes, is our new leader. 291.67 feet. That'll throw Robert GOLLAHON into shock. I'm sure he thought this late in the action no one would top his 283. So much for the course wearing out.
Well, I'll tell you, Glenn Davis apparently really studied the course. He decided to take a risk and moved over to the right side. Just exactly what you were suggesting earlier, Steve. Why isn't anybody going down the right side? Maybe he heard you. Boy, it sure paid off. Plus, he did a nice little piece of driving here.
I wonder if he'd give me a percentage of his winnings if he takes this whole deal. All right, let's go down to Pat at the far end to talk with our brand new leader.
Well, Glenn Davis, were you happy with that?
Yeah, I felt really good. I had a good hole shot. I moved on the outside track for nobody to pull in and come out and took the lead.
Now, we talked a little bit earlier this afternoon. You felt like this might be your night here at the Astrodome. You still feel that way?
Oh, yeah. I've ran 8 times this year, and 6 of them are first, and I'm going to make 7 tonight.
All right, good luck to you. Hang around. We'll see if you can win it.
Thank you.
Glenn Davis, the new leader, as he takes us into the 290s, but it's fascinating that we have not seen a full pull at 300 feet. Normally, we'll see a full pull and we'll see a pull-off.
Well, apparently, the TNT officials tonight, Paul, just decided to make the weight transfer device, the sled, a little extra tough.
You may remember that Pat Patterson was sitting up on this Ford machine a little bit ago as he described these machines to you. This is the Outlaw. Russell DeForrest is the driver.
Reflecting for a moment on that earlier pull by Glenn Davis, I wonder if, after watching how hard the sled was to pull, he dropped down a gear lower than everybody else. And possibly Russell DeForrest has done the same thing. Russell, right in the middle of the racetrack, gets a little bit sideways. We saw that hurt some earlier pullers, and it's going to hurt him.
Boy, it's hurt him bad, too. This run he's not going to be proud of at all because he comes through at 249.7 feet. Russell DeForrest picked the middle of the track. That kind of surprised me. I would have thought when you see a successful run, you try and replicate the thing.
Yeah, you would think so. We have 2 more pullers to go in the class. It will be interesting to see where they go, right, left, or middle.
Well, you know, I think he started well, and then he must have sent some wheel spin or something because he came back out of the throttle and then powered it up again. But by then, his inertia was gone, and he came through with this run. I'm sure he's going to be nodding his head at that.
I think you're right, Paul. You can't get off the throttle and back in it on one of these things and expect to win the class. You might place higher than you would have otherwise, but you're not going to win. All right, the distance to beat, 291.67 feet. Here is our next to the last puller. Obviously a brand new truck. Donnie Sanders in the Tennessean. He is hooked. And look at the start here, Paul. Nicely done.
Oh, he's got a nice run going, and this course is capable. We saw that with Glenn Davis's run. Look at the Tennessean, the Chevrolet. He's way down there.
He is. It is laser measured at 289.41 feet. That is good enough for second place behind Glenn Davis.
Well, that was a super little run. He poured a lot of power to it. Apparently, he became aware that this course was capable of holding more power than we had seen earlier. But look, too, he's doing a little bit of steering right there at the start and moving the front end around.
He might have taken number 1, Paul, had that run been just a bit straighter. We talked earlier about toe-in. Well, here on this new truck of Donnie Sanders, we see some dramatic toe-in on the vehicle, more than we have on any of the others.
Tony Osteen targeting 291.6 feet.
All right, the green flag is waving.
Tony's revving up, getting ready to start. He's coming out of the hole, getting on the throttle. Now he's got her wide open, but I don't think he'll do it. No, he ain't gonna do it. Yeah!
And you called it, my friend. You're the winner tonight here at the Astrodome. Congratulations, Glenn. A great run for you.
Thank you. I got to thank my sponsor, the Sparkle Corporation, and also Kendall Oil.
Did you know tonight would be your night? I mean, you had these feelings earlier when we talked this afternoon. You had a great pull right off the top. You knew this would be a good night for you.
Yeah, I just got this Greg Kramer motor put together and ran it 4 times. I got 3 firsts with it. Last week I had 2 first places, and I just come here feeling strong was going to win this thing.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, he certainly wasn't overconfident because he did exactly what he thought he could do. Glenn Davis is the champion in the 4x4 class at 291 feet. Donnie Sanders second. Robert GOLLAHON in third. Manuel Moreno, the defending champ, is pushed all the way down to 4th place. The only lady in the category, Donna Webb, she had a very respectable effort, coming in spot number 6.
We continue.
For the first time in our coverage of truck and tractor pulling, we bring you the snarly little rascals known as the mini rods. Now, a whole bunch of them pulled earlier today in the Astrodome, and these are the tractors that all made a full pull. So now they're involved in what is known in this sport as a pull-off.
I tell you what we're looking at is a little dragster here with a low gear. That's what they all are. Look at that thing generate power. Wow, with a roar and a scream. And look at him pull the sled.
But I think the balance was way, way off for Scott Amey from Ida, Michigan. The front wheel should have been dancing a little bit.
Yeah, it should have been able to pull the front end up to try and transfer that weight back. 169.43 feet. Well, that's the benchmark at the moment. Perhaps you noticed that little bitty sled behind these mini rods. Earlier, Steve took a look.
Meet the weight transfer device known as the Ridge Runner. For mini rods, you need a mini sled. And this is it. Now, it may be compact, but it has all the features of its big brothers. There's a rider in here for safety reasons. Should anything go wrong, he can stop the whole act. Now, the most noticeable difference is right here, the weight box. You just don't need as much. Even though these tractors have over 1,500 horsepower, they don't have the weight for traction that would enable them to put on a good show pulling the big sled. But like the big sled, there's a gasoline engine down here that brings the weight box back after a pull as the sled is being towed back by a tractor. Now, like the big guys, it also is transferred through chains and transmissions and rear ends out of diesel trucks. Now, when it is fully transferred and reaches a stop here on top of the skid pan, it can exert about 12,000 pounds as opposed to 60 or 70,000 on the big sleds.
So that's what creates the weight and the challenge. Now, here is Larry Coaster. Now, he is a double amputee. You talk about a man with spirit. Boy, he loves being in this, and perhaps aptly he shows a little bit of his sense of humor calling the machine footloose.
He's a courageous guy, Paul, and very well liked in the mini rod ranks. And it appeared that Scott Amey, the first puller, really didn't throw down much of a gauntlet at 169 feet. So we'll just see how Larry can do. He's about ready to bring up the RPM and squeeze into that throttle, or maybe slam it down. I'm not sure how you drive a mini rod. Looks like he slammed it down to me.
Yeah, he certainly poured the power to that. He's a fellow Hoosier from my home state of Indiana. He has a nice run going. And listen to the power roar up on that thing. Larry Coaster, he's still spinning him as he digs him into the ground.
He was looking for just another inch if he could get it. An awful lot of blow-by was coming out of the bottom of that motor, so it may be just a little bit tired. 248.78 feet. Well, we'll just have to see how that holds up to the onslaught to come. Now, watch underneath the engine as this pull progresses. A certain amount of compression was blowing by the rings into the oil pan and out the blow-by device on the bottom there. If you've got a car that smokes, your family car, you know exactly what I mean. When you take off the oil filler cap, that stuff that comes out is called blow-by. It's going by the range. Unlike Scott Amy, Larry had the front wheels up nicely for weight transfer and more traction. Larry's always smiling, but this time I think it'll be broad.
Well, let's see if he's smiling this time. Yes, he is. That was a good pull.
Well, you know, they changed the weight box a whole bunch. We had a good straight run, so I'm pretty pleased. Maybe it'll hold up.
You've been around these guys a long time now. As you look back at the ones that have still got a pull, anybody can beat you?
They're all tough. They're all real tough.
Hang around with us for a minute. We'll see if you can stay on time.
We're trying to be number one.
Well, there's no question. They are tough. It's become a tough little class. This is the first time we're seeing it, and it's providing us with some great action.
And I'm glad to see, Paul, that the TNT is really enforcing the safety rules. Take a look. These guys wear no-mac suits and helmets and neck braces and shoulder straps, all the things you should have in an animal like this, really.
You'll also see the drivers follow the rules and from time to time take his hands off the controls to assure everybody that he's neutral. The machines are safe. This turns out, because of those kind of rules, to be a very safe sport.
Boy, Ron didn't waste any time at all. As soon as he saw that green flag, he got on the accelerator pedal. And this is a nice pull. Oh, but that's gonna just kill his distance. He got sideways, one wheel driving more than the other. He couldn't correct with the brakes in time. Steering wheel's useless when the wheels are off the ground. Bravander took 226 feet in change, and that will put him in the second spot at the moment from Marion, Michigan.
Now, he's not doing a whole lot of steering with those little front wheels. He does it with the rears, and you can see he got a little sideways right off, and the correction pulled a lot of power away, and that affected the run.
Well, Ronald, it wasn't quite what you wanted, but you made a good effort at it.
Yeah, I didn't have my weight right on the pull-off. I missed that a little bit.
Seems like every time you go up and down this thing, you learn something. You pick something up then?
Oh, yeah, every time.
Good luck.
Thank you.
So Ron Vandertook, at this point in the competition, finds himself in the second position. Larry Coaster, with a nice effort at 248 feet, is the leader. We'll be back with more action from the Astrodome.
We're back at the Houston Astrodome. I'm Paul Page with Steve Evans. This is earlier. This is Tommy Cordell, who had a really wonderful run going for himself and would have made it into the situation we have with several full pulls and therefore the pull-off. But then he got all over the place. Something broke out of the bottom of the engine, kicked some oil out. That lit up, and, well, obviously, his day was done. That's not something you're going to repair here in the Astrodome. As he walked away, he talked with Pat Patterson.
Tommy, that was a fiery ending to a pretty rough run there. That thing broke to the left on you, and you managed to still keep it all the way down the track.
Yeah, we managed to get it down there. It come back on its own. I didn't have to break it in. It's just an oil fire is all it is.
There's the distance to beat. Glenn Gunther is a man that definitely knows how to do it. Let's see if he can actually get it done. Green flag is out, and he powers it up fast and quick, comes out with a good run.
The front end came up exactly when he needed the weight transfer for traction. Oh, this is not a good run. This is a perfect run. What they call a full pull.
Unbelievable. Nice. It was kind of fun, too. But while the rears were spinning and the front end was off the ground, Glenn was still kicking the steering wheel back and forth a little bit, hoping it might steer some.
Boy, here's how it ought to be done in the mini rod class. Watch Glenn Gunther. I was worried for a minute there, Paul, that he had the weight off. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew that centrifugal clutch was going to kick in just at the right time, bring up that front end as the box came where he needed the weight transfer. What a beautifully balanced, prepared tractor, and a fine drive as well. Let's go down to Pat to talk to the full puller.
Well, Glenn, tough enough was tough enough tonight. You did a great job out there.
Thank you very much.
How was the pass? Is the track still as good as it was in that first pass? And did you make the adjustment that you thought you needed to make the next full pull?
The track is staying together real good. We moved a little late. We did okay.
Good luck. Thank you.
Well, if the track is holding together good enough to give him a full pull, it may hold together for the rest of the competitors. There's Belle Blosser backing up, ready to hook up for her pull. Now you see the white light. That tells you that everything's in neutral right now. The safety wire is hooked up, the chain is hooked up, and we're ready to go.
They hand push the mini rod forward to take the slack out of the chain. Here is Belle Blosser from Stanley, Virginia, a hillbilly and darn proud of it. in the Hillbilly Shaker. And does she have a task? She's got to make a full pull if she possibly can.
That started off a little slow, but now with an awful lot of power, and is all over the course. Well, I wonder if she can save this one. Over to the left, drifts back to the right, but she's still going. This is a good run.
This is incredible. Listen to the crowd. She was sideways. Everything went wrong that could go wrong, but that big supercharged Hemi performed for her, and she will go into a pull-off of a pull-off.
And let's see if this man can get into the pull-off as well. This is Ronald Baker. The machine is the Equalizer. If he wants to stay in competition, he's going to have to make a full pull.
And he knows that. You can bet on it, Paul. In fact, he's taking a little extra time concentrating. Now he gets with the power. Not much early wheel speed. Here comes the box. Oh, he is crossed up first to the right, now to the left. Doing a good job of steering, but the engine lets go. Oh, boy, did it let go.
That grenaded big time. You suddenly saw a pop at the bottom, and look at the oil pour out there. He was driving it, though. Until the engine let go, he was still trying to recover and doing a pretty fair job of it, but only 238.5 feet for Ron Baker, and what probably amounts to some fairly expensive repair.
Okay, let's take a look at the leaderboard. It is Glenn Gunther with a full pull. Bill Blosser matched him with a spectacular full pull, followed by Coaster, Baker, and Vandertook.
Red All-American.
Well, seldom does a competitor in truck and tractor pulling pull more than 2 times on an evening. Not true in the mini rod class tonight, as there is a double pull-off. The money is on the line between 2 competitors, 1 male and 1 female.
Yeah, and I wonder what they have done to change the setups between the last run and this one. Obviously, it would seem to me you'd have to do something. The course has been regroomed. It's going to be nice and neat. You're going to have to think about, what did I do on that last run? It was perfect because it gave me a full pull, but I've got to improve it. Glenn Gunther on the Tough Enough, hooked up, ready to run.
Well, maybe you just leave the thing alone in the case of these mini rods. They don't have that selective transmission we saw in the 4-wheel drive. You just hope you've got more power than your competitor. Glenn Gunther, Tough Enough. Is it tough enough?
Oh, the front end begins to bounce a little bit on him, though he does keep it off the ground and keeps it going. Glenn Gunther, the weight transfers back and it digs into a stop.
Well, it looked good, Paul, but you never know until you see the other competitor with the re-weighted sled. All right, the distance comes up at 227.71 feet, so Belle knows exactly what she has to shoot for.
Yeah, they must have really added some weight and speed to the sled on this one to come up only to the 227-foot mark. Let's take a look at this run. You can see he got the front end off the ground and had to steer it with the rears a little bit very early on, and that takes away from the straight line.
Now, it's possible that Glenn took off a little too much weight from the front axle and put it to the rear, looking for some more traction there, figuring the heavier weight would keep that front end down. But that didn't work out. But still, we don't know how good it is. I wonder what Glenn thinks about it.
What do you think?
Well, it was a good run. They shortened it up because of the extra weight and the faster movement of the sled. We'll see in just a minute if it'll hold up.
Indeed we will, as Belle Blosser and her Hillbilly Shaker from the state of Virginia is the last mini rod to determine the payout here at the TNT All-American.
Yeah, this will make the decision. She knows exactly what she has to do. She has the advantage of having seen the previous run, so she knows what the track is doing to her.
What she has to have, though, Paul, is a straight run, something she didn't have when she got into this double pull-up. It was amazing that she made it to this stripe. She's got to get that thing to go straight.
227 feet is the distance to beat. It's all now on the lady in the cockpit. She's got to figure out exactly how to get that thing straight down, how to keep the braking action on the rear tires right. As she begins to pour the power, she came in nice and easy. Boy, it was a nice little start for her.
And much straighter than it was before. Oh, until now, she is double crossed up, and that just killed that pull. The winner of the class will be Glenn Gunther, and boy, he earned it, having to pull 3 times.
Yeah, 167 feet for Belle. You said it, Steve. She can't drift all over the course. She did, and it was over. Let's go down and talk with the winner. Here's Pat Patterson.
congratulations. A great show for you and your team here at the Astrodome tonight. It just goes to show why you're a four-time champion, and you were in championship style tonight.
Thank you very much. We did our best, and we hope that people enjoyed the show.
Glenn Gunther, the winner. Bill Blosser in the second place. Larry Costa gets third place money. Ronald Baker fourth. And in the fifth slot is Ron Vander Tuck.